Good morning, everybody. We have a special guest on this morning. I'm going to kick it right off with Ariel. Ariel, good morning.
Good morning, Judah. Part of my thinking going into this week is we are right in the start of earnings season and none more important than Netflix. So I think before we start to get too aggressive, especially on the swing side of the market, it's best to start to get a few of these out of the way. I don't know if it's going to look a little bit like last quarter where you gap down and it leads to a bunch of chop, or it looks something like Microsoft again where we gap up and then it just leads to a lot of chop. So that's kind of my only hesitation right now with getting too aggressive on the long side. There are some names that are still acting well and looking interesting, and obviously, semiconductors should still continue to be on the forefront of everybody's mind. And Nvidia is still hanging on to the 50-day, still right at all-time highs, and this one usually reports right at the end. I think Dell is awesome. You've effectively gone sideways for the better part of a year, and this one is starting to come up the right hand side, starting to hang out right near the 20 simple moving average for something that's fairly tight. And then these cybersecurity stocks, I think these are just very classic cup and handles. What starts to happen with earnings, like I said, your guess is as good as mine. So I'll just be a little bit patient for that to kind of wrap up. And then we've got a few more things going on out here in the market. Chinese equities, obviously a bit of a scare with the, Trump and the tariffs, which was on October 10th. And then, Baba has done a really nice job yesterday trying to take that level up. I think very simply, it needs to reclaim the 20 simple moving average, and we might be back off to the races in some of Chinese equities. And finally, I do think that gold on any kind of pops is a short. I'm already sitting short some nugget, but I do think that for some people that want something a little bit cheaper, maybe some pullbacks in DUST is another option. Definitely not something that I don't always like being contrarian, but when you kind of take into account positioning on gold and this absolutely massive trend, never in gold's history has it had 10 green weeks in a row, and that is kind of what it's trying to shoot for this week. But even still, you started to get some pretty big divergence when you looked at the GDX yesterday, not effectively being able to push and make a new all-time high, while gold was. You pretty much just printed an inside day, and then this morning, kind of taking out the 17th lows last Friday. So really any pops in the GDX, it'd be good to keep an eye on, like NEM, WPM, AEM, and something like RGLD, GFI, etc. So if those names continue to act poorly, that kind of usually tells you what is going to happen to that underlying asset before that underlying asset actually has a bit of an unwind. So I think patience is the way to go this week, and we'll see exactly what the market decides to do with earnings names.
Hey, good morning. It is earnings season, and a couple names that reported are GLXY and GM. I'm going to be watching these off the open. GLXY had triple-digit top and possibly bottom B. Their crypto revenues are just soaring. It kind of reminds me of the early days of Hood, where everybody was kind of jumping on a new platform to trade. I'm not saying this is Robinhood, but that's kind of the market that we're in. People are still trading huge volumes in crypto. BTC is kind of sitting above its 200-day moving average, or just a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, it's above it. Which is what I like to see. So I'll be watching this. Watching versus dips off the open. 42.50, maybe they wash a couple of people out, and then it kind of builds over the next 30 minutes post open, and maybe we get some type of a multi-day trend here. Most of the time going forward for probably the next 6-8 weeks, be focused on names that have reported, and then the numbers are out, and they're establishing a trend in one direction or the other. GM, not something I would normally trade. The ATR is pretty slow, like an average of 2.5% per day. But they had big beats, and the easing of the tariffs benefits them, and it is also sitting on what I believe is right near an all-time high. Yeah, it's trading 64.40 right now. 67 being an all-time high. Love to see that. When big, large, liquid companies break above their all-time high, especially when they have a catalyst behind it, reporting earnings. So this is definitely going to be a watch. I like Ariel's thoughts on dust. I mean, this is a type of name where if gold's going up, this is just going to decay, get killed. But if gold does have a sharp reversal, this is a type of name that could have a couple of days of extreme volatility on the upside. So I do think this is a good one to watch, and like it's cheaper. I think the margin requirement is a little bit higher. Because of the volatility on it. But I do like that mention. In terms of semiconductors, Palantir's just been really nice and tight over the past 3 weeks, month. And if we kind of get through this channel, 185, 187, this is something that I think could go to 200 fast. You do want to see these levels get taken out, though. You don't like, as you can see, trading at mid-range is kind of sucked. So really this like 188.40 to break, for the next leg higher. And if you even wanted to wait, that's 52 weeks high, 52-week highs are 190. But this looks good until it doesn't. The markets are staying at highs. So I'm trying not to be too bearish on really anything right now. But that's my watch list this morning, and I'll pass it to Emil.
Can't hear you, Emil.
Oops. Morning, everyone. So sorry, I've been saying that I am watching GSIT. This one yesterday been pretty resilient and been hard if decide to fight with it. But since this morning it's coming off this base and reclaiming yesterday highs, I'm going to be interested in seeing any rejection of these levels, looking for a short here. But still, I don't like the fact that it's sort of trending. So either it's going to have one more push and it's going to break out and then stuff. So any push towards 2021, I'm going to be interested in double sum on the front side, or if it's going to break under 1550 area, and then I'm going to be interested in pops, risking pretty much pre-market highs. So two scenarios I have in mind here, and we shall see which one is going to take place or not. The second one I'm watching, it's NERV. This one, oops, sorry. This one, it's so far the volume is churning in. They had this news, not really a lot of dilution on this name, so it might be tricky to fight with on and have zero interest to get in front of the train. Let's put it this way. So at this stage, I'm going to watch any, blow off, see after the open if it's going to stop. Ideally, it's sort of breaking the trend and it's going to get under 680-ish. And then I'm going to be more interested in pop rather than finding the top. So since the range is pretty decent, I'm still looking for a technical trade. I'm not looking for, an all-day fader here. It's more like take advantage of any liquidity pocket. So every time it's going to make a new high, I'm going to watch for stuff and then recycle from there, rather than, getting an entry and then hoping for a big fade. Have no intention to trade this one like this. So either blow off and then trying to get a trade there for covering in dips, and then if it's going to break the trend, be more aggressive on the backside. But other than that, I'm just going to wait on this one. BYND. This is not the, it's grinding, but keep in mind this is not the regular small floater, and that's actually a real company. And for me, at this stage, I would really like to see a push through to 30. Ideally, it's going to go slightly higher, maybe a magnet towards 250, and then potentially, showing some sign of weakness there and looking for a fade. So zero interest for me to trade it out, this one out of the gate. I'm going to give a little bit of more time, maybe mid-morning, 10:30 type of trade, where it's going to push or mess around first, and then it's going to show some weakness and potentially fade later in the day. So I'm going to give some time and let it unfold for a bit. Not really interested to hit it out of the gate. IONQ, it's a name that I'm watching for a bounce. Oops. My typo, it's messing around today. So pretty much looking at this level, I like the fact that it's slightly gapping up this morning. So I'm going to be interested in dips versus 60. I'm going to risk pretty much yesterday's lows. So ideally, any build up above this area, I'm going to watch for, bounce after the open. We shall see if it's going to hold, but if it's going to hold, potentially to have some follow through later in the day. At least that's the way I'm seeing it unfold. I mean, we shall see how this one is going to work out. But like I said, I'm going to keep risk first at yesterday's lows, and if it's going to start working, then I'm going to trail it. Also looking at SMR, similar setup. These are all potential deep buys. So again, I would really like to see that it's holding this level and it's starting to soak. So far, it's definitely not showing that. But if we'll start to reclaim these levels, then I'm going to watch for dips, risking pretty much this level. And serve. Also, same thing here, looking for a deep buy based on the daily chart. Since yesterday sort of went sideways, I'm going to be interested in any push, towards 15, and then see if it's going to hold that level and maybe push later. And the last one I'm watching, it's Apple. Since broke out yesterday, I'm going to watch Prima, and actually that's a big breakout on the daily. As you can see, that's pretty much 1 year range, which broke out yesterday. So today, any dips and build up above this level, which is more or less to 60, I'm going to be interested in getting a long trade. And then if it's going to hold or having an opening range break, my intention is to add for some follow through. So yeah, that's what I have for today. Good luck, and passing it over to Judah.
Yep, and then I'll just end it off here. So starting off with Galaxy, Josh had some similar thoughts. Earnings out this morning, recent IPO in the AI data center space. So, if we could trend back over this these prior highs of 44, even 42.60s, then I'd be interested in joining that trend. We got EOSE with had some PRs out this morning. Extremely nice trend, pretty much almost a 300, a triple, and we get this pullback on decreasing volume. The price action is still a little too wide for me, so I wouldn't be shocked to see this, potentially reject these 19 levels again. I would like to see some more build up before, really joining it for another leg higher, but I still want to keep an eye on it given the volume and range that it's having this morning. But really, EOSE and NERV aren't really going to be on main watch, but it's still worth discussing given the the daily charts and the price action. So going to NERV, PR out this morning. This is has history of pretty wild and big moves. It is holding, extremely well so far. We still have another half hour till open, but it's pretty much been holding up for, what is this, almost I think the PR came out either a half hour or hour ago, but still building up here. If it's going to continue and have that outlier move, I want to see, that push off of open, maybe hour push off open, then we pull back, we wrap around VWAP, we put in a little higher lows, and then we get a 2 p.m. plus move. I'll be looking for, a big move off of open, and then I'll pull into the hourly and see that pullback on decrease in volume, and then I'd be interested in an end of day move. More likely though, this is, really just a precautionary thing on the short side, not to get, front side, because it does have history, and it is a very fast and wild mover. So it's really more to point that out, to just be cautious, wait till, a little bit more of a blow off or backside. As for continuations, we got RMBS, a very nice pivot out on the 10th of September here. And now that we're pulling back and putting in a little higher lows, flagging out, I'd be watching for a potential continuation. There is earnings out on the 27th, so just something to keep in mind. Earnings out next week. We got MP, which I really want to just see the 84s kind of reclaim and look for a bounce over there. The whole sector, though, is pulling back this morning. CRML was a notable weakness name yesterday, given what the rest of the basket was doing. So if it does start to pull back, CRML could be worth watching for a little bit of a pull. Otherwise, if we consolidate a bit more, I'd be interested in MP on the long side. If not today, then if we have another inside day or two, then I'd be interested over there. Palantir, again, like Josh said, just consolidating up here. Looking for that, really just a pivot up through like 183, 184s before we actually get to that 188. But that 188 would be that, that big key little cup and handle going on up here. So if the market continues, Palantir is one to watch. Open was one that I was on my watch list last night. Pretty much what it's reminded me a little of is this NVTS back here, where we get this huge move from 2 up to $9, and then we pull back a little bit off of the 50-day moving average, and then we get another potential leg up. So open right now is like pretty much sitting near that 50-day. If we do start to pick back up, I know the 770s was a big level. So I'm just want to watch for, maybe a reclaim and push back up for one more move. Otherwise, I'll ignore that and it'll just, roll back where it came from. Then SLDP is in the battery space. Just tightening up here. The sector was pushing out a little bit yesterday. QS has earnings, I believe, tomorrow. And then we got, ENVX, which was just trending a bit yesterday. We also have AMPX as well, which gave a little pivot yesterday. So SLDP, would prefer a little consolidation, but if we do start to push back up, maybe we get some sort of leg up over there. That's pretty much what I got this morning. Thank you, Ariel. Thank you, Josh. And thank you, Emil.